I went from 6K with the agency that I was working with, the video marketing agency. And then in the first month doing this full time, I made 25K.
It's nuts, bro.
Like the fact that somebody can spend $1,500 in a month and generate over $100,000 for their business, I was like, that would feel so good to like do it for somebody that I'm working with.
How many of those people so far have retained after the initial month?
I would say 80% of them.
What's going on, guys? We're here with my man, Jayce. Dude, Jayce, you took a minute to get in to working with us, but you're here now and you're making a decent amount of money. So let's just get straight into it, okay? On this call, it's gonna be really cool because you came in and just absolutely started crushing. Like, perfect definition of just relentless, making a decision and then executing. And now you're in a really good spot. So go ahead and kick us off, dude. Like, who are you? Where are you based out of? And then what were you doing before you started working with us? Like, what, 5-6 months ago-ish?
Yeah. So I guess, a little introduction to me. My name is Jayce. I've kind of been doing this full time now, the ad space, kind of dove right into it the last 2 to 3 months fully. But before that, and the reason why it kind of took so long to kickstart everything is because I was working with a video marketing agency. We were doing commercials, documentaries. I was getting paid, a daily rate, and it was pretty much a full-time thing. So I didn't really have I was so stuck on producing high quality commercials and documentaries and traveling and all this stuff. And it just became so time consuming and I wasn't getting the reward from it, even though the projects were phenomenal, right? We're doing Super Bowl commercials, we're doing all this stuff. But me, I wanted more for myself. I knew that I had more potential. I knew that, I can't be working 40, 50, 60 hours a week for somebody else when I could do that exact same thing for myself. So in the beginning and the reason why it kind of took so long to get started with you is because I was just so busy doing it. And I saw my friend doing it. I saw my friend, Nolan killing it with the ads. And I was like, I want to give this a try. So I knew we hopped on the call and, the initial investment kind of scared me. Right.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it. You started reaching out to me. You started following up with me. And then I kept seeing all these wins that you were posting on your story of all these people that are making deals left and right. And I was like, dang, like I want that for myself. So that's when I kind of dove into it. And then it really took like 2 months in the beginning to get started on everything because I was still working for the agency. And then once I got a few clients, I was like, holy shit, this works. I'm going to just dive right into it. So yeah, that's where we're at now. So
yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, at the beginning, you're super busy with what you're currently doing. You're making really cool work, dude. Like working with a cool team, making super awesome projects. So it was like a time commitment thing, but also like just the investment. It's a decent chunk of change. I guess looking back on it now, like, do you think it was worth it?
oh yeah, dude. Like everything that I learned from you guys, the calls, the program, the school, the live calls, the live meetings, even the stories, like and just like messaging people in the group chat, like
Yeah.
everything was totally worth it. And everyone has their own little advice. And so I'm kind of the person
Mhm.
that just takes a little bit from everybody and like pieces it into my own way. And as you can see from the results that I've gotten, that's kind of
Yeah.
what I do. And I just kind of learn along the way, and that's just who I am. But yeah, the investment, the time that I put into everything, it was 100% worth it.
Yeah, and I think you took advantage of what you should have done, right? Like most people, like if they join a program, like myself included in the past, they'll go like watch a bunch of videos, but they don't leverage everything else. It's like, sure, we have some trainings, but it's like maybe 10% of it, right? Like you went out, you found the killers, you started making connections, asking good questions there. You started pulling from the different group calls, the concepts, the information, the skills that we were developing, and then you're able to take that and then ultimately achieve what you're doing now. But I think to go a level deeper, what's really cool about this is the fact that a bunch of communities will have people that are kind of selling a similar thing, but they've all got different offers. They're all selling to different niches, different avatars. There's still so many variables. And so then it still kind of turns into a Frankenstein. But at the end of the day, everyone here is, for the most part, selling the same thing, like solving the same problems for the same types of service businesses. And so because we're all in alignment, then you're able to kind of fine tune, which is really cool there. But anyway, when you first started with us a few months ago, what were you doing with the agency in terms of revenue? And like, what are you currently at right now?
Yeah. So when I first started with my own agency, right?
Yeah, well, because you were doing your own projects on the side and working with the agency before working with us, correct? Like that's kind of what you were doing then.
Yeah. So very
Yeah,
first month ever starting everything. Where
yeah,
was I at monthly revenue? I was probably at consistently like 6K a month. And then, 2 months after fully diving into it, I made 25K in the first month. And
after
then the
diving
month
into this.
when I officially kind of went all in with you guys and just with the offers that we're running, I went from 6K with the agency that I was working with, the video marketing agency. And then in the first month doing this full time, I made 25K.
That's nuts, bro. Cash?
That was all cash. That was all
Wow.
cash invested.
That's great, bro. So how did that feel, first of all? Like when you that first month, how did it feel when you brought that much in?
I was like, "Holy shit, this works." And then I was a little overwhelmed because I'm like,
Yeah.
"Wow, this is a lot more than I thought it was gonna be." It means so much to me to work for myself and do this for myself and not build somebody else's business up. Like, I've done that. I'm
Mhm.
over it. I wanna do something for me. I wanna build a future for me, and, I wanna give back to people that, that are in my life and that are close to me. So, fully diving into this and getting to a point now where I see how much potential there is, it's opened up so many things in my mind, and I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
like constantly thinking about business, how I can improve, what I can do better, so all that good stuff.
I'm so pumped you did it, bro. I remember our first call. I was like, this guy's gonna crush. Maybe not right now, but he's gonna come in at some point. And as soon as you did it, like I wasn't surprised, honestly. So 25K first month, that's baller. What do you think ultimately? What was the biggest? Because obviously, at the end of the day, everyone has access to the same resources. Few people make that much first month of implementing. What do you think you maybe did differently that allowed you to hit a revenue level like that maybe other guys aren't able to pick up on or aren't doing right now?
Yeah, so I think, I was seeing everybody kind of going after the, 4-month partnerships, 4-month retainers with the I call it partnerships. It just sounds
Yeah.
better for me. I'm just so used to it. But, I saw everyone using the offer, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it out, right? I tried it out with the first client. It worked tremendously. I had calls after that, and I was like, getting into a problem where they're like, "Hey, can we see some results?" And I
Yeah.
was just like, "Well,
Yeah.
I kind of just started this, right? I don't really have many results. Like, I just launched to my first clients, ads, and I have yet to see the performance on it yet. So I don't really have case studies." I was like, "Let's get these people's feet wet. Let's get them in the door. Let's get them as a client. Let's earn their business. Let's start getting them results. And then from there, I can have case studies to eventually
Hmm.
work my way into a long-term retainer, which is now where I'm at now. So I have, 25 clients or 22 clients already, and they started out with, that 1 month kind of trial, and we've been getting good results, and a majority of them are gonna stay. So I think my method and my approach, it wasn't traditional, but it worked out for me in the end. So
No, that's a really good example of like going to market with information that you've already been given, collecting feedback and understanding, okay, don't have the case studies yet. And instead of trying to come up with something and still push 3 or 4 months, how about we just go into the risk a little bit with them, mitigate that, and just say, let's do 1 month, prove the concept. And then once you see that it works, then we can establish from there. And because you sold a bunch of 1 months. And on that, how many, because I'm sure you're still only a couple months into this, how many of those initial 1 months that you closed, which was what, like over 20 or something like that, right? How many
yeah,
of those people so far have retained after the initial month?
I would say 80% of them. Some of
That's
them
good. Okay.
Some of them didn't retain simply because they didn't have a sales process set in
Sure.
place to follow up with their leads.
Yeah.
It's just the name of the game,
Usually what
and
it is.
I kind of
Yeah.
laid out the expectations, beforehand, and I said, hey, ads work only to the extent of
Mhm.
making sure that you're following up with your leads and closing your leads. Some of these people just
Yeah.
were too busy actually working in the business instead of on the business, so they just didn't have time to follow up. But a majority of them have been getting really good results. So
80%. That's fantastic, though. That's a good retention rate because you obviously can't retain 100%. No business can, but good, healthy, like 70 to 80, and you're at the top end of that. So that's really cool, dude. And that's a great strategy. And now you're at the point where you have case studies you can lean back on. You can say, hey, we've done this for this person. We've achieved this return, this return. And now you can start pushing those 3 4 month retainers, those partnerships, right? Which
yeah.
honestly, really solid strategy. And I think we're actually leaning more into that as well because, like, I 100% think in the beginning when you don't have case studies to lean on, at least 3 to 5 really solid ones, there's nothing wrong at all. I still don't believe in doing free work because, like, most guys in here have the foundation of how to make content, and then running the ads is not hard.
Mhm.
So you should do free work, but it's like what's in between that, and I think that's a really good strategy. So,
Yeah.
kind of pivoting a little bit from that, you mentioned something before that I think is really interesting, and it's what a lot of guys struggle with, me included. Because when I first started video, I wanted to be like a filmmaker. Like I wanted to make movies, I wanted to make
Yeah.
documentaries, narrative style stuff, and I'm like, this is what I want to do because I'm passionate about it. Then I started watching Hermosi, and he put out a video that I watched that was really good. Recently, I learned this a lot sooner when we made the pivot into the agency, but recently it just really established, and we send it to everyone that I talk with. He's like, the title of the video is "Following Your Passion is Keeping You Broke," because we always talk about the concept, like Japanese concept ikigai. You familiar with that?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
most guys are like, okay, I got to find what I'm passionate about, and then I'll never work a day in my life, and I'll be successful. Well, no, that's like one aspect. You got to find what you're passionate about, what you care about. But then two, you got to be good at it, right? You were good at it, right? So you had both of those. But then you need to figure out, what does the world actually need? Like, not want, not nice to have. What does the world need right now? And then what can you get paid a lot of money to do? And another thing I love hearing guys say when they're not making a lot of money is, I know my worth. And at the end of the day, you knowing your worth actually means nothing. Your worth is dictated by the market. Your
Yeah.
worth is dictated by what people will pay you. And if people aren't paying you anything, your worth is probably not as much as you think it is. So
Yeah.
anyway, I want to talk on that. Beforehand, you were doing narrative style stuff for a while, working with an agency. Why not try and figure out a way to make more money doing that thing and stay passionate about the thing that you're doing? Because this is totally different. You're running ads for local businesses. We're doing short form videos, captions. Like, they're still fun, but they're not narrative style stuff. So why was it more important for you to pivot to something like this as opposed to kind of staying in your lane of what you were passionate about?
I think for me, since I did so many projects, did so many documentaries and commercials, I honestly, like, I was getting a bit, like, even though I'm passionate about it, I love telling stories. I love,
Mm-hmm.
high quality production. It doesn't really give me that sense of pride. Like, I at the end of the day, it's just pretty videos. They're not going to be doing anything with it besides putting it on their website or putting it on TV. And let's be honest, nobody watches TV anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there was no direct, like, result that you can track from it. And when I saw, my friend Nolan and a bunch of other people on your story that are getting the results, and not only getting results for themselves, but like getting results for their clients. Like, the fact
Mm.
that somebody can spend $1,500 in a month and generate over $100,000 for their business, I was like, that would feel so good to, like, do it for somebody that I'm working with. And I actually
Yeah.
just did that for a client, and I actually have a meeting with him later today. But, like, it means so much more to me because now they've trusted what I said, and it actually works. And it's one thing to produce pretty videos, but it's a whole other feeling to actually feel like you're truly helping somebody grow and helping them achieve, like, better results for themselves, but also for their employees or for their
Mm.
family, all that good stuff. So
Amen to that, dude. I think it's a perfect example too of like taking what you are passionate about, what you are good at, but then figuring out how to insert it in the market where it's actually profitable for you to actually like build the life that you want and be able to provide how you want for like your spouse, your future wife, your future family, all that stuff. And I wish more guys, speaking from experience, now that I'm married, right? Back in July, and it's the best thing in the world. I'm gonna have kids here soon. Like, speaking
that's
from
awesome.
experience, being able to go back and know that you now too are on that path. A lot of other guys in here, which is honestly now all our purpose of why we started this, pivoted from the beginning. Like, figure out how to make videographers more money to now it's so much more, which is find young guys who are passionate about video, but ultimately show them how to build a business that helps other people, that makes other people more money, that makes them more money, that gives them time freedom to be able to then get married and then already be in a provider position to give their retire their wife, take care of their kids, because it's so much harder. I can't speak from experience on this, but so much harder because of all the calls that I have and everyone else that I see
Yeah.
to try and start doing that when you already have a family and you already have responsibilities and you got to start from ground zero. So like one thing
Yeah.
that gets me so amped and so excited is knowing that you're with someone, right? You guys have been together for a while, I presume, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we've been together for actually this Wednesday is going to be like 6 months, but
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Maybe we don't need to talk too much about that in case she's going to watch this. But okay, so
yeah,
maybe in the future, something maybe might have a family or something at that point. It's probably the goal, I would assume. So
yeah.
being able to do what you're doing now and grind when you have the time and you have the mental bandwidth, you're in good shape. Like when everything lines up there and you're able to do that, it's the most rewarding feeling in the world to be able to tell your wife once you get married, like, hey, shut down your business, stop working. Like, you don't have to
Yeah.
help me out, right? Be a wife, like, do what you want to do and have the opportunity to do what you
Mhm.
want to do. So, anyway, super passionate about that, which I think is really cool. So,
Yeah,
um,
this year for Christmas, I'm going crazy on gifts for not only my girlfriend but my family, dude. It's gonna be
I
everyone's gonna
love
be like,
that.
"Holy shit, where'd you get all this gift all these gifts from?" Yeah, so
I
it's
love
gonna be
that,
cool.
bro. That's so cool. It gets me so excited. On that note, too, though, it's like, and not to get too off course here, we'll stay on topic, but I remember I was in Puerto Rico where I was chatting with Nolan. And when you start making big boy money, like even more than what you're doing now, you will find out who your true friends are and who your family, like true family, is that actually wants and supports and wants you to do better than them. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's bittersweet, right? Because the ones that have been with you for a long time that get so excited for you, want to support you and be a part of that journey even more, you
Yeah.
solidify the friendship even more. But then the ones that kind of like ask from you, take from you, like that comes out, and then your friendships and your family start to really kind of part the seas, which is just an
Oh yeah.
inevitable journey. But anyway, that's something that happens too. But it's again, it's like a bittersweet thing. But anyway, so with your clients, man, because return on investment for our clients, it's one thing to talk about how to get more deals and make more money. I don't give a shit about how many new deals we close. I care about how many clients can we retain, how many clients can keep paying us because we're making them so much more money. And you're doing a great job because I see your stories and you're crushing it for your clients, which is great. Ultimately, what do you feel like you're maybe doing differently? Because you have a good, technically 80% client success rate, assuming they're 80% are retaining, that's an 80% success rate. First of all, what do you quantify as success? And then two, what do you feel you're doing that is ultimately providing your clients such good returns and results?
Yeah. So I think in terms of how I'm able to, get good results for my clients, it all comes down to being on their level, not acting like I'm, essentially better than them. I want to be a partner with them. That's my whole pitch. When I jump on these calls and I, have conversations with with a new lead, my whole pitch is like, hey, listen, like I'm in this as a hands-on video marketing agency. I want to be your partner at the end of the day. So communication is super
Mm,
important. As soon as you text me or you call me, I'm probably going to respond to you within 5 to 10 minutes. That's just the type of person that I am. And I like that same kind of level of communication with
mhm.
my clients. And so I maintain that high level of communication so that I can consistently make minor tweaks to their video campaigns or to whatever we need to do in order to keep getting them the results that we're getting. And in terms of tracking like the progress, making sure that we're actually getting a good return for them,
Yeah.
I typically ask them like, what would it take for you for this to make sense in terms of an investment? How many more clients would you like to see every month come in from these video ads? And if we don't hit this goal, I'm going to do everything in my best ability to make sure that we actually hit this mark for you. As long as you are doing your part by calling your leads as soon as they come in, that's the most important thing. So I kind of just set the expectations right up front and make sure that communication is almost like a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been working for me, so far.
Are you communicating with your clients in Slack or you guys just text? Like, what is the main source of communication?
It's mainly through Slack, but
Okay.
some of these guys are a little bit of old
Yeah.
heads, so they don't properly know how to use it. So I just simply call them or text
Sure.
them.
Yeah. How frequently are you having communication with them in terms of like consistent calls or check-ins or reports? Like, what does that look like?
It's at least once a week. So typically Mondays. I actually have a few calls today with some past clients. We're going to go over their campaigns, see if there's anything we need to tweak, if there's maybe a hook we need to change, or copy or call to action, stuff like that. But
And so is
yeah,
it like
it's typically
initial month, like weekly Monday, 15, 30-minute sync meetings, reviewing everything, and maybe every month after that, maybe bi-weekly, or is it every single client every month? It's weekly on Mondays,
It's
check-ins.
so it's a biweekly call. So we'll do two calls in a
Okay.
month, but then they're also getting a PDF kind of document that's sending them all the metric reports on what's working, what's not working, uh, what I recommend, what we do with the budget, and how we can potentially get better results. That's essentially what I'm doing.
Perfect. That's good. So in terms of expectation setting, because that is so important, the beginning, as soon as you collect payment, what happens immediately after that, within the first, like, honestly, not even 24, but like 12 hours, will set the foundation of the entire relationship. So onboarding is obviously incredibly important. And you know Jeremy Haynes?
No, I don't think so.
Dude, I would follow him. His stuff's so good. His YouTube videos are amazing. So he's a marketer. They're doing a couple million a month. Like they're doing really good, obviously. But he made this reel one time, and I thought it was so funny. It was a clip from a YouTube that he put out. But he was talking about how as soon as you onboard a client, literally working with clients and retaining clients is a constant balancing act of making sure that the scale of he calls it the who's getting fucked scale. He's like making sure that that scale is constantly weighed down in your favor and not in theirs. Meaning, the second a client pays you their money, immediately the scale goes all the way down, and they're the ones getting fucked right away because they have
Yeah,
immediately spent money and they have nothing to show for it. So he
yeah,
said the best agencies are the best at weighing the scale back down in the shortest amount of time possible. And I thought that was such like a good visual because the clients who have the best onboarding, or the agencies who have the best onboarding process, where as soon as a client pays, they're onboarded, right? Especially if you can
mhm.
set it up an automated one, which we're putting out a baller training here soon, bro, which is going to be crazy. But if
Yeah.
you can
I'm gonna stay
automate it,
tuned for that because everything I do onboarding wise is pretty manual. So
long story short, like Most guys I think are doing it manually, either themselves and or how their VA do it. They'll say onboard this person, they have to manually then go do it. But when you can automate it to the point where as soon as somebody pays, you fill out an intake form of the client, like what is the cash collected, like what's total contract value, term length, deliverables, client name, email, all the variables. You fill out the intake form, hit submit on Google Jotform. As soon as that submits, it triggers the entire onboarding process. And so it'll send over the agreement for them to sign. It sends over their onboarding email. It'll start putting together their Slack channel, send them an invite to the Slack channel. It'll
No
send
way.
create their Google Drive folder with all the appropriate subfolders in it. It'll take the client SOPs of how to properly triage client expectation videos. It'll create their Notion portal, right? With like, here's what to do,
Wow.
step 1, 2, 3, 4. It generates everything and then delivers it to them just like that. And then the next cool part is we built out a crazy freaking GPT prompt. And so as soon as the client fill out the intake form, onboarding sent out, they get an email within a matter of minutes. So it's like, cool, you'll be onboarded here in a sec, dude. You just paid. You should have that onboarding email. They have an onboarding email immediately, and they're like, holy shit, it's right here. They go through, they fill out the onboarding form, everything about their offer, what they sell, who they help, what makes them different, all that. As soon as they take 30 minutes to fill that out, the second they hit submit on that job form, it then triggers the next part of the onboarding process, which it takes that job form, it takes a super long prompt with like our scripting process, like well performing ads in the past, like hooks, all that stuff. And then it takes their form and then it inputs it into a custom GPT with the prompt, outputs their scripts and immediately sends it to them. And it's like 90% of the way there. So they'll send to you first, you'll polish it, then send it over and be like, cool, here's your scripts. And when people can pay and immediately get that within a matter of like minutes, it gets them so amped, bro. They're just
That's
like, let's go, right? So anyway, in terms of expectation setting, that's really important. How do you properly set expectations? Do you have that automated primarily, or are you collecting payment and then immediately setting expectations? Do you do it in the kickoff call? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I definitely don't have anything like that set up that you just described. But in terms of my onboarding process, I usually collect the payment right on that sales call, or if for whatever
Yep.
I'm not super pushy. That's where I kind of need to get better at my objections. If someone tells me, hey, I need a couple days to think about it, I'm like, okay, well, let's schedule a follow up meeting. But anyways,
Yeah.
disregard
Yeah.
that. Usually, what happens as soon as they make the payment, they'll obviously sign the agreement, make the payment, and then I immediately send them an email which has kind of been pre-drafted. It has all of my onboarding videos that I kind of, it's like a one and a half minute long video that kind of outlines exactly what happens from here on out. And then from there is a calendar link to schedule a kickoff call. And then
Mhm.
on that kickoff call is when we'll kind of do like an hour long call, kind of like what we're doing right now, where it's like, okay, who is your ideal target audience? Where are we targeting? What are their pain points? What offers do we want to run? What solutions do we want to run? Who's going to be on camera, stuff, what kind of b-roll can we capture while we're there to add some visual context to it. I'll take those answers after that call, put it into chat gbt. I have kind of
Mm,
like my own prompt made to for that.
nice.
And then I'll have the scripts ready. I'll send those scripts off to them usually within 24 to 48 hours after they make that payment or they go through that email, and then they approve it. And then right there, when they approve those scripts, they have the option to schedule a filming day, and
Nice.
then that'll basically go off of my calendar availability. And then we'll basically go out there, have the scripts which were already pre-approved. That's important. I don't I've done it once where I didn't have the scripts ready to go, and we showed up and we were like sitting there for like an hour like trying to put together the scripts. So I learned that lesson. And
Yeah.
so everything that we do is pretty streamlined, structured out, and everything's agreed upon, beforehand, and the entire process is pretty seamless. So
That's beautiful. Okay. So pay, contract sign, fill out onboarding form, kickoff call scheduled on the sales call, I presume. Like as soon as they pay, get that in the books within like 24, 48 hours, probably.
yep.
Um, onboarding call or kickoff call. As soon as on that kickoff call, you're going over their onboarding form, going over their offer, their ICP, all that
Yep.
stuff. Make sure you're on the same page, and then you'll go through. From there, you will then leave the call, create the scripts, send over for approval. Once approved, they will then have an option to book in an actual film date, which I would assume then is they can only book that film day within 24 to 48 hours, probably as well. So that way you're keeping it tight, and then on that timeline should be able to then have footage uploaded, editing team knocked out within 24 hours, and then ads launched immediately right away. That's kind of the timeline.
Yeah, typically, my editors I pay a little bit higher than I probably should for an editor. I think the normal rate is, anywhere between probably like 30, $40 for, a full batch of edits. I typically pay like 60, 70 because I come from that background of just high quality, so I want like high quality ads for my clients, and
I mean, dude,
it's been working so far. But
the edits you're doing are really good. Like yours and your clients, like it's just that extra layer of like, sure you can go cheaper, but I also really believe that like when you if you go a little bit more and you're able to like just have those edits look as polished as they are, I really think that plays a role into overall return, overall performance. I would pay that. Like I
oh,
think that's a
100%.
good threshold. I think that's a good number, and I think more people
Yeah,
should instead of trying to get the cheapest cost, because the
yeah.
margin of like, okay, so you spend like an extra $20 for like a batch or whatever, but the margin of success to retain a client, how much they're going to pay you and how much they make in return is probably going to be quite a bit more. So
Yeah.
I think that's
So
good. You
yeah,
said,
when I run my own ads, I kind of have like, some sort of graphic or motion graphic
yeah,
on there that shows an example of some past ads that we've done, and they're really high quality, right?
yeah,
But then if for whatever instance a prospect or a lead asks me, "Hey, can you send me some examples of your portfolio or some ads?" I'll send that over to them, and those high quality videos kind of speak for themselves. So that's the reason why. But
yeah,
yeah, it typically takes like 2 to 3 days for my editors to get the ads done. So yeah, within less than 5 days from filming, those ads will go live.
that's great. What's your team look like right now?
Yeah, so I have me, I have an extra videographer. I haven't really used him yet. We're gonna be going out on a shoot, I believe next Monday, to kind of like he's gonna shadow me essentially to see
Cool.
how it's all done. I'm gonna pay him like $40 an hour. So not too bad, not too low either. So it's like kind of reasonable ballpark. But yeah, and then I have three editors that I can pretty much, kind of put on pay per project. And then I also have a VA as well.
Solid. What's your customer acquisition cost right now?
I have to take a look here. So let me. It is roughly 390.
Nice. So for every $390 that you're spending on ads, you're closing a new deal with an average order value of how much?
Order value right now, I just put a new offer out there. It's 7K for 3 months.
Nice. Solid. Um, that's great, dude. Well done. That's a solid return. That's super good. Okay. So ultimately, guys that are trying to build an agency, right? Trying to build a video business, they bounce around between different offers. They try different things. But one of the biggest problems I see is people will try to launch something and they don't give it enough time to see it through, because there's a few offers that could work, right? Um, but ultimately, actually, before I get into that, let's just talk about offer real quick. What do you think goes into, now that you have context of what actually a good offer is, what goes into a really good offer for a video agency? Like what are most videographers missing from their offer that's causing them to not make the money they want? Because you can run all the ads you want, you can go to networking events, you can do cold outreach, you can do any marketing or sales tactic under the planet, under the sun. But if the offer's not good, none of it really matters. So what goes into a no-brainer offer in your opinion, now that you have context?
Yeah, I think a no-brainer offer for me at least is pitching, results versus quality, right? At the end of the day, for me to talk to a business owner and say, "Hey, like listen, with this system, with our strategies and, with everything that we're doing behind the scenes and you not having to do anything besides just show up and be filmed and close your leads, it's a much easier offer to pitch versus saying, "Hey, like this is how many videos you're going to get for social media. Who's to tell how many views you're going to get, and who's to tell how many clients you're going to get from that."
Mhm.
So, switching my offer from high quality videos and commercials and documentaries to pitching ads, which you can see a direct ROI on, you can make data driven decisions, you can optimize, you can spend more, you can spend less, you can do whatever you want with it, but it's like an engine that you can. The fuel for the system is the offer, right? But the engine is the creative, and then I forget the analogy, but something else is qualifying the leads. So
Yeah.
building all of that into one offer, creating the offer, creating the ads, and then qualifying the leads for the customer. That's just it's such a much better offer than just pitching cool videos that nobody
Yeah.
really cares about.
Well, you're selling an outcome, not deliverables.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to be able to sell the outcome. And in order to sell the outcome, you then have to understand, first of all, what is the outcome, AKA more revenue, more deals closed. But then it's one thing to sell that. It's another to actually understand the inner workings of what goes into from top of funnel, somebody that knows nothing about them, all the way down to closing and collecting payment and everything in between. And so it's one thing to say like, yeah, we'll sell an outcome, but most guys will be like, yeah, we'll sell you more business growth, but then still sell the same deliverables when they're not actually selling the proper engine. Right. And so it's like you have to understand the outcome, but then you have to also understand what are the all specific deliverables and distribution methods required to achieve the outcome from top all the way down to bottom of the funnel. And so like that's incredibly important. So let's backtrack a little bit. You were working at this agency for how many years? How long were you with them?
I was doing, aside from the agency, I was doing, freelance stuff,
Yeah.
probably for 4 years. I
Okay.
started off doing like social media content for influencers and for, fitness athletes and stuff like that. And then I transitioned into working with the video marketing or the video production agency.
Hmm.
And I worked with them for 2 years.
Okay. So the video production agency was primarily like the revenue driver for you. That's what was kind of paying the bills and making the money for the most part, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was the consistent paycheck every month. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're there for a while. And this is also a really big constraint that happens for a lot of guys. We've helped a ton of guys go from working full time and or having some sort of a close to full time focus into doing this. But that's a really difficult thing to do, right? And it's like, what is the answer to when it makes sense to make that jump? So I guess for you, man, like because again, you struggled with it for a minute in the beginning there, right? Between like our first call and then when you actually jumped in, and even when you jumped in, it was like a month or two of still focusing on that stuff before you really went all in on this. So for you, now that you have the experience in it, what was that pivot point? Like what had to be in place first, if anything, before you could officially like make that jump? And what did you have to put in place first before you officially went, okay, I'm going to go all in on this?
I think for me, there's a quote that I have in my office. You can kind of see it right here. It says, "What if it all works out?" I think for
Mhm.
me, it was like, okay, I know what it takes to, figure out what looks good on camera, right? Now, how do I transition that into my own thing for potentially my own clients that I'm going to get? And the thing that kind of switched for me and what made it easier for me to transition from the video production agency that I was working with to what I'm doing now was like learning everything that I possibly could, staying up late nights, asking my friend Nolan all these questions, digging into the group, reading all the stuff on the group, reading answers that or questions that people were asking and the answers to it. I was just kind of taking piece by piece and all this information and just like kind of mashing it together into what I thought made sense and what I thought could potentially work for me. And eventually I just started kind of leaning away from the video production agency. I started taking some time off, even though I didn't have any clients. I was just like, let me just take this Thursday and Friday off, go do some homework, try and figure it out, try to build out some systems for me, invest money into running my own ads so that I can see what actually works for myself. And then once I kind of took all that data and just went for it, eventually everything just started clicking. I started, getting clients and everything worked out. So
Look at that.
yeah.
That's so cool, bro. So, if we were to like SOP this, right, for anyone else that's maybe working a full time position or contract position that takes up 40 plus hours a week, it sounds like it is, and I'm in full agreement. It's exactly what I did too. It sounds like you have the main revenue driver that's paying the bills. The smart thing to do is not have an idea, quit, and then go full force into it, right? Like you got to keep doing the thing. But it's the concept of, I don't remember who I learned this from or heard this from, but it's the concept of you pay the bills during the 9 to 5, or for your example, this contract position that you had, but then you build your dreams during the 6 to 10, meaning and insinuating that if you ultimately want to be able to leave, it will not happen by you only working, coming home and not doing anything. You have to
Yeah.
be able to pay the bills, do what's already working right now. It's kind of that safety net in the beginning. Give yourself a timeline of like, I got 2 months to figure this out, because that also goes into the idea of the Parkinson's law, right? Parkinson's law basically states that a task or work will be completed in accordance to the time frame that you are given.
Yeah.
Meaning most people are like, yeah, I could make 50K a month, but it'll take me 4 years. And I know it takes time. Well, does it actually take 4 years? Or could it
Yeah.
take 4 or 5 months of the right focused inputs, right? Because it's why we have a 4 month program. It's like, dude, by the end of the 4 months, you're going to be here, right? Because so long as you have the right inputs and you complete them at the right certain time frame within a 4 month time frame, you will 100% be here so long as you do these inputs properly. So it sounds like giving yourself a time frame, right? Like I have 2 or 3 months to figure this out. You go work, but then you have to be diligent with the work you're doing after to ultimately build the dream, right? Being
Mhm.
able to learn the skills, dive in and put together the offer, put the foundation together, and then start leaning out, start testing the waters, getting the offer out there. Once you have proof of concept, then you go all in. So for you, you started doing that. You were building up the skills. You were getting the context on the side. What was the thing or the thing that happened or the foundation you had or the limiting belief that you overcame? What was that moment in which you then made the decision to go all in on this thing? What was the thing that had to happen first?
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of switched in my mind when I said, "Okay, I'm gonna just do this full time. I'm gonna dive right into it," was the moment that I looked back at my, earnings for the month. of fully diving into this, and it was 25K in a month. And I was like, I just made 25K in a fraction of the time that I would have put into this video production agency, spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day doing filming and editing. It was kind of mind blowing to me. I was like, wow, this is actually achievable if I just do the thing. Like, that's it. I just had to do it. Like, the first 2 months I was learning, I was taking all this information, and as soon as I just started doing it, everything worked. Like, as soon as I started running ads and speaking to people, getting in front of, people, and just, yeah, everything clicked as soon as I just started doing it. That's literally all it took.
So, what would your recommendation be to guys that are currently working a full time position, whether it be something in the video space or they're working some other random job making 50 to 80 grand a year, maybe, right? What would your recommendation be to them if they're actually tired? Because I can't tell you how many guys we talk to that are like, I'm tired of doing this. I want to provide better for my family. I want to make more money. I want to be able to live up to my potential. I can't tell you how many guys say that, but how few of them actually then do it. Everyone's
Yeah.
all talk. Everyone has these great ideas. Everyone says they want to do these things. Few people actually can stomach what it takes to make it happen. So if someone was sitting in front of you right now, similar position as you, maybe it's full-time job position, whatever, making money, they want to make the pivot, but they maybe don't know how, and or they don't put in the work necessary to be able to make that transition out of it. What would your recommendation be to them right now? What's the one thing they could do currently, in your opinion, genuinely, that will start putting that next foot in front of the other? That's
I
productive.
Yeah, I think for me, the best way I can give advice is kind of like pretending like I'm my younger version of myself. And I think for myself, when I was, 18, 19, 20, I always had this burning desire to want to work for myself. I knew that I didn't want to be under a boss. I didn't want to be told what to do. I knew that I had that desire to be a business owner and work for myself. And I knew I had more potential in me. And I think if I told myself back then, this is what you need to do, I think you just need to take it upon yourself to actually put in the work to learn what you want to do, learn from people who are already doing it, and implement those exact strategies. And you will eventually start to see some sort of return. If you just do the thing, things will come back to you. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is. And if I were to tell somebody else, hey, like, I'll offer some sort of piece of advice to someone that's maybe looking to get into this program, or even just do their own thing, or whatever it is, like, what is that thing that you would, if you were to look back on your younger self and you were to wish that for them, what is it that you want for them? And what do you need to do to help them push themselves into that direction? And I think for me, it was like, I didn't have a desire to, I had a desire to, work for myself, and give back to my family, give back to my girlfriend, start making more money so that I can have more freedom. That's ultimately what I wanted, because I didn't really come from much. I had poor childhood, poor parents, and
Hmm.
I knew that I wanted a different life for myself, but not only for myself but for my family. So I think at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, like, what is it that you truly want deep down, and what are you doing? What are you willing to risk to get yourself there? And that's what I
Hmm.
really asked myself. And when I did, everything started changing.
Do you think anybody making multiple five figures a month with this model is not easy? Doing it in 1 month isn't easy. Sustaining it is definitely not easy.
Yeah.
So, do you think anybody can do it? Do you think everyone has the potential and the ability to build the skills to make it happen, or do you think it takes a specific type of individual?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, man. I'm actually happy that you asked that, because, for instance, Nolan, who's making a shitload of money right now, I was like, he used to tell me too. It's like back in we've known each other for like 5 or 6 years. We started, way
Yeah.
back when, he was telling me how much money he made, and I was so proud of him. And then he told me, he's like, dude, you realize you're better than me at this, right? He's like,
Mm.
why aren't you doing this? I was like, I'm not going to say I'm better than him, but I'm like, you make a point, right? Why believe that all these other people can have all the success, and why not me, right? And I think once I realized that nobody ever gets really handed anything in this life, you have to earn it. As soon as I kind of just, you know, came to terms with that, and I was like, you know what? If he's doing it, why the fuck can't I? So I just I started implementing everything, and yeah, so that's when everything kind of switched.
So what is the difference between the ones that say they want to do more and be successful and make more money and actually do it versus the ones that say they want to do it, but for some reason stay stuck for the next 20 years of their life? What can't those
Let's
people do, or can't they get over? Like, what is the thing if people, because I think that's a huge thing. Like understanding cause and effect is
yeah.
so important here. People can't understand the core limiting, like belief system underneath their heart that is preventing them from doing what's actually required. They'll stay stuck.
Yeah, I think the difference between the people who do the thing and the people who eventually just never do, it comes down to, the willingness to take action and the willingness to want something better for yourself. How badly do you want to change? How badly do you
Mhm.
want that
Yeah.
thing? That's what you really need to ask yourself. No one is going to hand you shit. At the end of the day, I have this quote written on a whiteboard over here. Only you can get you where you want to go. I've had that written on my whiteboard since I was 16 years old. You can't even erase it. The thing is permanent on the whiteboard. But that's the quote that I kind of live by. It's like, coming from nothing, right? I didn't have anything growing up. I had to, make all my own money. Nothing was handed to me. I lived with my grandparents. My parents couldn't even afford their own place. Like that's how poor I was. And God bless their heart. They gave me everything that I wanted or everything that I needed. But I realized that nobody in my life is going to hand me anything. I have to go chase it. And for that person that, or for the people that want that for themselves, nobody's going to come and give it to you. You have to take action. You have to just start doing the things. You have to put in that time. You have to sacrifice that extra time in your day. Even if you're working a 9 to 5, like you fucking grind 5 to midnight.
Mhm.
Screw the 5 to 9. You need to sacrifice your
Mhm.
sleep. You need to sacrifice your money. You need to go in the hole essentially to figure it out. That's what I had to do. So, I had to do it multiple times throughout my life. And yeah, I mean, it's just at the end of the day, who do you really want to be?
Sacrifice is inevitable. And I think that's the other thing too is people try to figure out how can I do it maybe safely. But I think risk tolerance is something you have to have. Like you have to be able to stomach the ability to risk a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of heartbreak, friendships, whatever. Like I never really understood that when I was like kind of growing up and I wanted to do my own thing. I would always hear it and I'd be like, nah, maybe I could do it a safer way. Maybe it'll take a little bit longer. There's no way around it. You have to sacrifice something if you want ultimately to live a life that so many others can't. And on that note, I remember when I was growing up, we'll kind of end it on this topic, but I remember when I was growing up, I was blessed and lucky enough to watch my dad because he built a few companies. And so he was able to be like a mentor to me. And I understand few people have that. And so I was super blessed to have him and he's my best friend. Right. I remember growing up, I'd always watch him and be like, I cannot work for I can't work for somebody else. I can't go work a 9 to 5. Like I got to figure out because I owe it to him. I owe it to other people. I owe it to God. Right. Like I owe it to myself and my future family. So I've got to figure out what to do there. And put a pin in that. That's another thing too that you got to realize. I think like I'm a man of faith, right? Like, and at the end of the day, I firmly believe that. Now we're gonna really like deep and philosophical, but if I die, my biggest fear is going up to heaven and having him look at me and be like, "You had more in the tank,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you didn't do exactly what you were set out to do." And like when I think about that, because I firmly believe that's very possible of happening, it terrifies me. And I think so many people get in their own head of what they're willing to stomach, what's worth it to them, what pain they're in that's required for change. Like they're so focused on themselves, but it's like, sure, that's really important as you, but what about the other people that are relying on you and waiting on you to step up to the plate to be the person they need?
Mhm.
That's something that really messes with me too, is especially as you grow, you make more money. Now we make a decent amount and there's a lot of people that rely on us
Yeah.
for their families, for their pay. And when you get to that level, you don't have an option, right? And so anyway, when I was growing up, taking the pin out, when I was growing up, I used to always love watching like these motivational videos. They just fueled me, bro. And there's this one video that I used to watch. It's got like, I don't know how many millions of views on YouTube now, but it's called How Bad Do You Want It? And I remember
Yeah.
watching it because it's the story of the guru, right? And like this guru and then this dude who wants to be really successful, make a lot of money. He tells his guru, he's like, I want you to teach me. He's like, all right, dude, meet me at the beach tomorrow. And he shows up to the beach. He's ready to go like a football player, right? He's like, thinking he's going to do some training and some routes or whatever. He shows up. The guru's like, all right, put the football down, put all your stuff on the floor, come out in the water. And the dude's like, what? I thought we're training. Like I thought you're going to show me to be successful. Why are we going out in the water? He walks out in the water. Guru goes way out in the water till it's like up to his neck. He's like, come on out. He's like, what's going on? This dude's high. Why is he telling me to come on the water? He walks all the way out. He stands next to the guru in the ocean. And then the dude shoves his head underwater and he forces him to stay underwater for like a minute. He doesn't bring him back up until he's suffocating and he has to get air. And then he tells the guy, he's like, you will not ever be successful until you need it as badly as you want to breathe. Because when you think about it, in the moment, what was going through your head when you're underwater? It was one thing. It was, I need air. He wasn't thinking about a birthday party. He wasn't thinking about a game he had coming up. He wasn't thinking about what he's going to do on the weekend. It was one thing, and that is, I need to breathe. And he's
Mhm.
like, you will not be successful until you want it as badly as you want to breathe. And that was one thing for me. It's like, okay, so you need to get to the point where it is inevitable and you have to figure out how to make it happen because it's the only thing that matters to you. Then that begs the question of, what about the guys that don't need it as badly as they want to breathe? What if they are comfortable? What if they're chilling? It's like, hey, my bills are paid. I'm comfy. But they say deep down, I want to do these things. Do you think it's possible for someone to ultimately pull out of that? Or do you think at some level, they need to have some level of urgency and need for it to happen before it'll ever actually happen?
Yeah, I think that's a hard question. I think everybody has the capability of doing it. At the end of the day, it all
Sure.
comes down to, are you willing to snap out of it and actually realize that you have more in the tank. You have more potential, right? What does it all ultimately come down to is like, what do you really want in this life? Do you want more freedom? Do you want more money? Do you want more time with your family? Do you want to give back to your family that, kind of sacrificed everything, right?
Hmm.
And or didn't really have much. And for me, that's what it was. Like, I want to make so much money and earn more freedom so that I have more time for a family in the future, right? Hopefully.
Hmm. Yeah.
But also, like, my burning desire is to give back to my family. So I think, for people that, may not have it in them, maybe you never will. But are you okay with that?
That's the question. That's really what it boils down to. It's like, okay, you might not. Maybe you don't have the desire right now. You don't have the fuel. You don't have the fire. But the next question you need to ask is, are you okay for that? And are you willing to settle for that?
That's what I asked myself. I was like, I'm working 40, 50 hours doing this, and I know I have more in the tank. Am I willing to settle for this life for the next 30, 40 years? I don't think so. I don't want it. I, I
Probably
don't
not.
want that. I want more time. I want more freedom. I want to give back. I want to travel the country, travel the world, travel the country, whatever it is. I want to buy gifts for people. I want to
Yeah.
uproot and go take my girlfriend or future wife or whatever it is out to dinner. Like,
Hmm.
that's what I want to do. And I have to do everything I need to do in order to get that. So
I love it, dude. This has been great. Thank you so much for hopping on and sharing your thoughts. Any final thoughts? Anyone? Because the guys who are watching this are who you were 12 months ago. So I guess to end this thing, what kind of final thoughts do you have?
yeah, man. What I would say to those people is, I was once in your shoes. I swear to God, I was once in your shoes. I was, kind of just not depressed, but like in a space where I almost didn't I like recognize myself. I was just going through the motions, and I wasn't okay with it deep down. Subconsciously, it was like kind of eating me away. Everything just seemed robotic. I was waking up, going to work, coming back home, making dinner, going to bed. I just wasn't okay with it. And I didn't have anything in the bank to, do what I ultimately wanted to do, which was give back to people and, earn
Mm.
more money and time and freedom for myself. So, um, yeah, it's just, that's kind of the note that I would kind of leave off on is like, if I could do it, you can too. I'm nothing special. I just did the thing and you just have to do it now.
It's really that. Like most guys in here, people always ask, like, what are they doing? What do they have that I don't? Nothing, bro. Like, if anything, the guys that make a ton of money are just normal freaking dudes that are relentless.
Yeah.
It's really that.
You watching, or whoever's watching this, like, you deserve it. Don't think to yourself that you don't, or you don't have the capability, because you do. Nobody deserves anything in this life, but
Mm.
you deserve to have it all. Just do what it takes.
But whether or not you actually achieve it is up to you. That's the good news. The bad news is it's up to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this has been great, bro. Thank you for your time. This is awesome. What's next for you?
Yeah, what's next is I got to do all these client calls today, and then I got to go. I got to go meet with a client too. It's an in-person meeting, but he's actually the client who has generated like 100K in revenue this month from or less than a month actually of running ads. So we're gonna kickstart a little meeting today, go over the next month's strategies, and yeah, I got some other leads I got to follow up throughout the day and tomorrow. So yeah,
Solid, bro. Well, stay tuned. We got some really cool new trainings resources coming out. I've just been eyeballs deep in this stuff, bro. So I think it'll help out with what you got going on as well. But anyway, let's keep scaling. Thanks for hopping on, man. Anyone watching this, guys, if you need help, you need support, click the link below, book a call. Let's have a conversation. See if there is anything we can do to help. At a minimum, we'll brainstorm a plan, figure out what next steps are for you, and we'll chat there. In the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next YouTube video. Thanks, Jayce. Appreciate it, bro.
all right.